Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the entree musician, and so are you. And you know, one thing that I dig having the opportunity to talk to so many incredible musicians from around the world. But you know what's very special is to be able to talk to someone who is in the same backyard as I, breathing the same air, probably eating the same food, shopping at the same grocery stores, and all that. This is BJ Lisko. He plays an incredible guitar and is an incredible band. You'll never believe the name of it. The name of it is Turbo Lovers. For you Judas Priest rockers out there, we're going to talk about all that. But this is BJ Lisko, man. Peace and blessings to you. How you doing, brother?
Oh, likewise, man. Thank you so much for having me back. It's like you told us right before we started here, man. It's been almost a year to the day since I was on Artist Impact, so I really appreciate you having me back.
Definitely, man. Well, your music is absolutely exciting. I've seen, took a glance at your summer calendar, and so you guys are booked and ready to go. Let's just give shout outs right now to Chris and Keith. Let's just do that before we roll up our sleeves, man. They really ROCK. They rock for sure.
They're the backbone of the band, man, for sure. I couldn't do it without them. And yeah, we've been together now with it's me, Keith, and Chris. I think over 10 years now, 11 years now. It's Turbo Lovers has been this steady lineup. So yeah, man, it's been great.
Well, I tell you what, man, Chris has a special place in my heart. I got to tell you this. It'll take 27 seconds to tell it, if that. But was having some car trouble, man. You know, I'm thinking he's on auto body. He has an auto body shop, right? And so couldn't figure out why water was coming on the inside of the SUV I drive. And with respect to that, this brother kept my car for 3 days, worked it out, made sure it was cool, took care of the problem, and didn't charge me. Now, come on, Chris. Now, I'm not telling that so that you can go to Chris and take your car to Chris. You may not get the same treatment, but yeah, he has a special place in my heart. Good dude, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He's been running that auto body shop for a long time. It's a family-owned business from his dad and stuff. And yeah, man, he's always packed, man, because he does such great work and takes care of people. So he's got a lot of returning customers and a lot of word of mouth, and a lot of good business over the years.
Absolutely. Plus, he's a fellow drummer, so I mean, I think that had something to do with it too.
Yeah, drummers look out for one another. That's for sure.
Without fail. But tell me about you, man, BJ. You came on, like you said, last year. Artist Impact inspired us, man, with the sound. Big, huge sound. But now, were you born and raised in Youngstown, or are you a transplant from somewhere else?
So yeah, I'm a transplant from Columbiana, so just south, down. So just south a little bit of Youngstown. But I've been in Youngstown and pretty much lived in Youngstown proper for almost the last 20 years now on the west side of Youngstown. I'm over in the Cornersburg area. But yeah, I've been over here forever, and I've been part of the music scene since I was 15, 16 years old. So, which is crazy now that that's been 25 years that I've been doing this.
Oh my
Which
gosh.
is pretty wild, like I don't think of myself as being that old. I'm only 41, but like then I think I've been doing this 25 years though, man. That's a long time to be that's a long time to have been in it. So
Absolutely. Well, how did you get started? Are you a self-taught musician? Were you classically trained, or what happened?
yeah, I just so I started on bass guitar, and that I was a big AC/DC fan, and I liked rock and roll. I liked punk rock and stuff, and it was like, all right, I had some friends that kind of got guitars at the same time, and we kind of just fiddled around with it, and but yeah, I taught myself how to play the bass, and then eventually taught myself how to play the guitar out of a need for we needed a guitar player in the band at the time, and we couldn't we couldn't find any, so I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to do this then now, so I taught myself how to do that. So yeah, just from one thing to the next. But yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, it's something, man, growing up in Northeast Ohio, and just the plethora of influences that we have here. What drew you to put together the band Turbo Lovers? I don't want to. I've read some things. I've pulled some different articles, but I think it's incredible that it started out as a side gig. But
Mhm.
what made you like walk the process of, all right, this is it, hands down, this is what I'm called to do, and I'm going to it?
I think just because every other band I was in fell apart. or you know what I mean? Like they just folded. So it was just like, well, all right, well, I'm gonna give a go at this then, because Turbo Lovers, like you had mentioned, it started in actually 2004 as a recording side project. It was just me and another guy. His name's Bruce Steppen, another Columbiana kid, like grew up with the high school with, and he played guitar and drums, a little bass too. So we kind of did, sort of all the instruments between the two of us on the first couple records that we did, but they were just recording, there were just albums. There wasn't really a band yet. And then so fast forward, I think it became an actual live band in like 2006, 2007, when, and it went through a number of lineups for, I would say about, 3-4 years there. It was kind of me and then whoever I could get, basically, because it was always my kind of thing. It didn't really become a band until Keith and Chris joined, like I said, about 10, 11 years ago. And that's kind of, and really, like, that's when our sound kind of formed and everything kind of really cemented there. But yeah, man, I mean, Turbo Lover, it started just because it was like, well, I was in other bands before that, metal bands. I was in a band called Helvis that did a little bit of touring and stuff. That was like a kind of a rockabilly, I don't want to say rockabilly. It was kind of like Motorhead meets Rob Zombie meets Elvis.
Wow.
So we meshed all that, and it was a cool thing, but it was, that was one of those bands where it was, burn bright, burn fast. So that was kind of, yeah. So 2 years, and then that was gone, and then so I was just onto my own stuff, and yeah, that's pretty much the origin of Turbo Lovers.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. So I would assume that you do most of the writing for the band, or does Keith and Chris kick in for writing as well?
So how it works usually is I'll come up with a general song idea. I'll come up, verse, chorus. I usually don't write a full song like with everything. Like I usually come up with just kind of parts. And then I take the parts to those guys at practice, and then we build on it kind of from there. And then lyrics I'll write like dead last. That's usually right before we go to the studio, under the wire. Like, okay, you have a deadline now. You have to have these done, because I will constantly second guess myself on lyrics all day. Music, I'll second guess myself a little bit, but yeah, writing lyrics that I don't think are that if they don't make me cringe, then I know I'm all right. You know what I mean? So, and it's hard to do sometimes. You think I've been a journalist and a writer for, as long as I've been, playing music as well too. I did it for years, but you think I'd be able to write lyrics a little bit, it'd be a little easier for me. But no, I'm always second guessing when I'm writing my own lyrics.
Wow. Well, I got to ask the question. You have such a big sound, 3 instruments. What's the process of getting such a huge, I'm talking huge sound out of just these 3 instruments, man? And I'm talking live. I'm not talking studio where you can overdub. I'm talking you guys hit the stage and it just explodes. What's that about?
We buy good gear. You know what I mean? It's just good gear. Like, we just spend money on good gear. And I'm not, one of my things, like, people ask me like a lot of times, oh, how do you get your guitar sound or whatever? And I'm like, it's not me, man. I just paid for it, Marshall amplification and Gibson guitars. Like, this is sort of a no-brainer. Like these were, sort of tried and true things, that were going on. So, but yeah, man, that's it. We buy good gear. We turn it up and play as tight and loud as we can.
And tight is good. That's a very good segue, because you are probably one of the tightest bands I know. I mean, and everybody's doing their own thing, family, etc. Businesses. But how much rehearsal time do you put in, or do you guys just like it's just a synergy and it clicks and we don't need to rehearse? What is that? Because it's tight.
I wish we didn't need to rehearse, man. But no, man. If we take time off, we definitely feel it. It's like, oh, my voice isn't hitting, or where there's usually like, if we go a month and don't rehearse, whatever, like, yeah, that first one back is always rough, and we're kind of kicking off the dust. But no, man, like you said, everybody is super busy. Obviously, everybody works probably, 60 to, dare I say, 80 hours a week, and probably our bass case. I mean, like, guys are working. So rehearsals, man, we get together probably about once a week, and we just got to make it count when we do it, so it's just, all right, let's get in, let's not waste any time here, let's make sure we're kind of on it. We've been together though now long enough that it doesn't take us too long to really kind of get back into the groove. If we miss a little bit of time or we take some time off, it's usually not too long. We also started taking gigs the last year or so at bars that we don't normally play, mostly like bands that bars that like cover bands would play, right? Well, cover bands got to cover 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, sometimes, where original bands usually only playing for 45 minutes to an hour in most cases, at original music venues. Well, we started taking some of these cover gigs, and so we'd get an opening band to come and they'll play for 45 minutes or so, and then we're playing for like 2.5. That really got us tight when having to learn all of that catalog, everything that we know. It was like, okay, we got to learn all this stuff because we need all of it to fill this 2.5 hours. And so, yeah, I mean, that really kind of stepped us up now. So now when we take the time off, I kind of use the analogy of, it's like, I play golf, right? So you play in a golf league, the more you play, your worst round kind of gets, like, it gets less and less, like your bottom comes up, all right, this is as bad as I can play if I play this much, right? Well, it's the same with a band, like if you play a lot, like it's like, okay, even if you take some time off, whatever, even if it's not okay, it's not, perfectly tight, whatever, you're clicking faster than not. And yeah, you can, like I said, your bottom's not so low that you're, embarrassed to be playing or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you guys have opened for some very Class A headliners. And you care to do a little bit of name dropping?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so last year was a good one. We opened for Ace Frehley from Kiss. We opened for Living Color. We opened for Kix. We've opened in the past for Jackal. We're actually opening for them again here very shortly. We're opening for the Gin Blossoms. That's in the summer here at the Ribs and Rock Festival out in Boardman. Yeah, there's been a bunch, man. I mean, pretty much anybody that's sort of in that 80s hard rock genre, we've had the chance to open for. Stephen Pearcy of Rat. We've opened for Slaughter. And so, yeah, man, it's cool to be, we just booked a show with the Super Suckers, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. That's coming up in Youngstown, actually, in September. So it's cool to be a part of all that. One of my big goals when I started Turbo Lovers is, like, I just wanted to be, like, I wanted to be in a band that opened the show that I would have went and paid to see. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be a part of the show. So, like, hey, I'd be at the show anyway. But guess what? Now my band is opening those shows too, and part of it I'm getting paid to be there. Like, that's, like, to me, that's so awesome. It's such a bonus, to be able to go to. It's like, man, I'd have been here anyway, but now I get to play too, and play my music for these. A lot of these other bands, the fans of these other bands, and it's worked out really, really well because, we fit in with all these bands really, really well. And yeah, their fans love us, and, we sell a lot of merch, and it's a great way to get our music out there.
That's right. That's right. Now, are you still selling, like, merch? What are you still selling CDs? Or are you more T-shirts now? I mean, people are diversifying, but what is Turbo Lovers doing?
We still, I mean, you can get our stuff digitally, you can stream it anywhere. You can get it, you can download it off of iTunes and stuff, but we still sell a lot of CDs. And I think that's just because they're probably the median age for the people that listen to us is probably in the, 40 to 50 to 50, like, and they still have that, people still have CD players, and they still, and a lot of them want something physical. We've had people just buy CDs and shirts, whatever, and they'll download it, like, oh yeah, I listen to you on Spotify, but hey, I want to support, like, but they still want, like, the souvenir, or something from the show. And so, yeah, we still sell a lot of CDs and, a lot of shirts and stuff too. We do a lot of streams and stuff as well too. We, a lot of downloads our Bandcamp address pages right there. You can get, most of our stuff. You can download it right from there, and it goes, that money goes right to us. So, but yeah, a little bit of everything.
That is excellent. So, speaking of headliners again, you don't have to mention any names, but what was your best show opening for a headliner, and what was your, oh my God, why did we do this?
The show, I would say the best show was probably Ace Frehley last year. We opened for him at Jurgles, and it's a sold out show. And on the way there, right, so he had a band that he was touring with that was like a support act, and then we were the local support, right? So so there was going to be a 3-band bill total. But on the way down, we got a call saying, hey, the support band's not here. Can you guys play for an hour? We're thinking we're going to play for 30 minutes. And it was like, heck yeah, we can play for an hour. So, that was awesome. And then, and it was kind of weird because Kiss fans, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people out there are familiar with Kiss. I mean, that is one of the most diehard fan bases of any band ever, right? So we're playing, and they're kind of just all doing this, and they're eyeing us, they're looking us over, and we played for like an hour, and we got a good response. By the end, they were all into us and stuff, and then they all bought our stuff. They bought us out of stuff on the way out of the building, which was really, really great. So that was probably the best one. The worst one, and not because of how we played, but because of so we opened for Stephen Piercy from Rat, and that was also at Jurgles down in Pittsburgh, or Warrendale, just outside of Pittsburgh, and that one was tough because we didn't know at the time, but so they put restrictions on how loud the PA could be for the opening bands. And so normally that club, it's really loud on stage. It sounds great. Well, we get up there and we, kick off, and it's like, oh, this doesn't sound anything like we checked. It was way quieter. You couldn't really hear yourself. And I mean, even people that saw us are like, yeah, like normally we're here, and I'm talking to, the good person next to me, and I gotta yell in their ear, and I'm just able to talk here because it was kind of so quiet. So that one kind of took the wind out of our sails a little bit when we were on stage, because it was like, oh man, they're only giving us, half the PA, that's the only time that's ever happened, though, believe it or not. A lot of these opening bands, they've been really cool. They don't make us upcharge merch, and they don't take a cut of our merch or anything else like that. Knock on wood here.
Right.
Happen or anything anytime soon, but everybody's been pretty cool. So that was the only one that was really sort of where we were leaving and was like, that one that didn't feel right,
Absolutely. Well, tell me this. What's your business like? Are you totally self-contained? Are you booking all the gigs? Are you promoting, or have you built a team around you to do those things for you?
No, it's all us. I mean, when our last record came out, we did hire a publicist to just dump that out everywhere, as far as hitting up all the music mags and all the music media and everything else like that. And that was cool because, they hit, the Spotify playlists and all their kinds of things that they hit that we wouldn't have been able to, which got our album a whole lot of traction. But other than that, it's always just been us. I book most of the gigs. Keith books a few here and there, and all the promotion is us. All the posters you see that go up, whatever, I design all those. I'm a graphic designer. I've been a graphic designer as part of my job for years and stuff too. So yeah, that's all us. I design all the merch and everything else like that too. But it's all just self-contained, and luckily we've been doing it long enough that we're not making money, but we're not losing money. So that's, you know what I mean? So our hobby doesn't cost us anything really anymore. It can pay for itself now, which is, it took a lot of years. I mean, we're still massively in the red, as far as a lifetime, but at least recently, we finally cracked the even mark.
Absolutely. You have 3 albums you talked about. I will say 3 great albums. With respect to my favorite title is Almost Greatest Hits. But, do you have, and this may be a multi-layered question, but do you have a certain vision for each album? Is there a theme? Is there a draw? Is there something that you're going for? Is it just, solid rock songs, keep it in the pocket and let's make it happen? How do you approach recording and your vision for what the final product will be?
It's mostly just, solid rock songs. I mean, we'll get out. I mean, rock and roll's got kind of like there's sort of a box within rock and roll, right? And it's not quite as restrictive as say a genre like, rockabilly, or where it's there's sort of rules to stuff, or but with rock and roll, what we'll try to do, the only thing that I consciously go to with when we're writing new music is trying to write rock songs that that are in a style or maybe are influenced by something that we haven't done before, or that doesn't sound like other stuff before. So it's still in the rock, under the rock umbrella. We're still playing it, so it still sounds like us. It's not going to be way crazy out of left field. But yeah, just drawing from kind of different influences and stuff. I mean, we all listen to so many different bands, and so many different rock artists and stuff. And there's so many out there. And so yeah, it's kind of trying to take a little bit from, a little bit of influence kind of from everywhere, and then kind of meshing that all, and then we play it. It ends up all sounding like Turbo Lovers anyway. So I'm not sure. I don't know if it works or not, but
Well, do you draw your writing, being the main lyricist, from anybody in particular? Who's your inspiration as you're writing those lyrics that you hope don't make you cringe?
Um, for me, lyrics are either like sometimes they're personal, sometimes they're just I'll just make up a story, or sometimes it's from like a different kind of perspective. It's sort of all over the map, man. I mean, sometimes they're just about rock, um, other times it's like the subject matter never gets like super super deep or anything else like that, but a lot of it is just about um, you know I would say there's a lot of Youngstown attitude in the lyrics. You know what I mean? Like just sort of the blue collar, hardworking sort of thing. Like that's definitely sort of a common theme throughout things. And then the only sort of personal stuff that kind of come like the sort of real personal stuff is like whether it's like stress or anxiety or like or that sort of stuff like that will like sometimes like I'll reference that, and where I'm kind of like like we have a song called Under Pressure on the last record, where the chorus is under pressure I'm about to blow, which is just basically like and it's disguised as a really like pop poppy kind of rock song. But yeah, that one is sort of like where it's just like there's kind of too much in your head or whatever. So I'm a classic overthinker when it comes to stuff. So I will address that sometimes in the songs.
Yeah. Well, that lyric you quoted is from the Letting It Fly album. I don't remember which song, but I listen to your stuff. I just want you to know I'm a fan. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Definitely a fan. And, so I have to ask a question because you brought about the gritty Youngstown, what we're about. I mean, you capture the essence of that hardworking premise that we have. But what is the aspirations for Turbo Lovers from your mind? I mean, you saw where it came from in Columbiana, just a side gig. Now you're opening for some major headliners. So, what's the future look like? What's your vision for the future?
I think we just want to keep getting, we want to play some of these gigs, um, kind of as long as we can, as far as like opening for bands that are like super influential to us, because a lot of these bands aren't going to be around much longer, because they're getting older. I mean, one band we opened for 3 times, Kicks, is one of our favorite bands, hard rock bands from the 80s, out of Baltimore, Maryland, and they just announced that we opened for the third time last year. They're going to be retiring here in another few months. And Kiss always says they're going to retire, but then they just keep announcing more and more shows. So I'll believe that when I see it. You know what I mean? But a lot of these bands, like AC/DC is my all-time favorite, and they announced their first show in like 8 years, and I'm curious to see how that's going to be, because Brian Johnson, their singer's 75, and they're getting up there. So a lot of these bands aren't going to be around. So just to be able to we want to be able to keep opening those kind of for as long as we can, and then hopefully take that audience, all the audience that we've built from doing all those shows, to where we can start doing our own. I mean, we do our own headline shows here in Youngstown, but doing them somewhere at like an amphitheater, or getting to where it's like, hey, we can go anywhere here in our region and get a couple hundred people there, no matter what, easy. That's kind of what we're shooting for, hopefully over the course of the next few years.
Now, do you see yourselves, all of you, walking away from what you would consider to be your day job or your business and going, this is straight music and that's it?
I wish, but I doubt it. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just me being realistic as far as like just with sort of the state of rock and roll. If we were in Europe, I would say it would be much more of a possibility. If we were like, in America is a really hard one to make it your living, especially in rock and roll and the genre we do. It's really, really tough, man. It's just, and I see bands out there that are doing it. And I mean, in order to make that sort of viable, I mean, you got to be on the road probably 250, 300 days a year. I mean, it is a grind, and I respect anybody that does that. I did some touring years ago, but never to that level. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's tough, man. I admire those bands that do that here. It's just, again, with rock, I don't know. Rock and roll is not as big as it was, in the 80s or the 90s. So it's more of a niche kind of genre now. I think that, yeah, it does better business, in other parts of the world than it does necessarily in America. The other part of it is America is so vast. America is a huge, huge area to cover. you know, where, you know, in Europe you can do kind of more centralized kind of touring where it's not as taxing, you know, going 6 hours between gigs or 8 hours between gigs or whatever you got to do here in America, depending on, you know, kind of where the hot spots are. So no, I mean, but you know, that was a long answer, but the short answer is probably not. I mean, I would love to. I mean, that'd be great to just say, hey, like, you know, if we caught some crazy break or, you know, won the lottery of whatever it is that, you know, like, hey, this song's a hit, we want to buy it off of you. Here's a big hook of change. Awesome, let's go on the road, you know. Aside from some crazy, you know, some crazy pie in the sky dream happening, probably not. We'll probably just be weekend warriors for the duration of this.
Well, as long as it's working, man. I mean, you know, you guys are really, really tight, as I said before. And I just, you know, all of the reviews that I've read concerning Turbo Lovers all are very positive, but it's really interesting how they try to describe you. You know, I mean, you know, they take the premise of what the 80s was. And by the way, I know this is not a question, it's a statement, but I really do respect the niche market. You sticking true to the music that's coming out of your soul instead of trying to bend it to fit a trend just to say, well, we're going to sell because of that. Hard rocking 80s is what's happening. But here's the question. The question is, so many different reviewers, locally, obviously, have referred to you, well, they're, you know, they're AC/DC, they're this, they're that. Who do you say that you are? How do you describe yourself?
Oh, I used to say, like, I used to years ago, I just did a joke where I was like, we're 35 minutes of Whole Lot of Rosie, give or take, is what I used to say, because we use an AC/DC song. It's not quite that anymore. It's AC/DC though does come up. That's usually one of the first ones I say, just because that's one that is a huge influence, but that's one of the ones that's most recognizable. Everybody knows an AC/DC song. Everybody knows probably multiple AC/DC songs. So, and again, we are rooted in a lot of that. But yeah, like AC/DC, you know, sometimes I'll throw out Kicks, or I'll throw out some 80s bands, or I'll throw out, you know, Kiss. You know, we do sound a little like Kiss in spots. You know, there's a couple more obscure ones. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, we're opening for the Super Suckers in September at Westside Bowl, and that's a big influence. And we've been compared to them in the past to Y&T's, another one we've been compared to. That's another 80s, you know, an 80s hard rock band that's still out kicking today. So yeah, I mean, it usually is. I usually just say AC/DC, and then it kind of branches off. It's like, you like AC/DC, you like Kiss, you like us. You know what I mean? And they usually, yeah, it hasn't failed me yet. So
you're sticking to it, right?
Yeah, ride or die, man. We're going with AC/DC and Kiss forever.
So let's talk about, you know, the secret, you know, the name Turbo Lovers, the song, and you know, why you picked that name.
So what happened was, yeah, we were, again, like I said, we said before, we mentioned it was a recording project to start, and I just called it Turbo Lovers because I didn't really have a name, and I was like, you know, the very, very first record that I ever did, you know, under the Turbo Lovers name, like I was really into Judas Priest at the time, and I still am into Judas Priest now, you know. So there's a little bit of that in our sound as well too. But yeah, so I just like, I'm gonna call it Turbo Lovers, and not really thinking a whole heck of a lot of it. And then, so lo and behold, a writer at Classic Rock Magazine out of the UK, which has been publishing for a number of years now, heard it and reviewed it and gave it a great review. And once he did that, I was like, well, we're stuck with that name. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, which I don't mind it. Like I used to mind it a little bit. I'd be like, you know, wish we had kind of a different name, but now I kind of don't, because, you know, people, it's an easy name to remember, you know. It's like, oh, it's the Judas Priest song. The only time we get in trouble sometimes is Tim Ripper Owens, who's the former singer of Judas Priest. He was in there for a few years. He used to own a bar in Akron that we would play often, right? Well, so we show up with the name Turbo Lovers. They all thought we were a Judas Priest cover band. And we still do get that sometimes. And especially if we still will, every once in a while, we'll play with tribute bands, or we'll play with some cover bands, whatever. And they see the Turbo Lovers, and you know, they're thinking like, that's going to be a Judas Priest cover band. It's like, sorry, man. Like, but you know, nobody's been upset. Nobody's been too upset that we're not, you know what I mean? Nobody's been like, man, I really wish we were a Judas Priest cover band. Like, you know, they hear it and they're like, it's, you know, it's good.
Man, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I've read some, different things about Turbo Lovers, about the name and why you chose it, but I needed to ask you. I mean, you're right here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Now, with the mountains of interviews that you do, I always have to ask this question at the end, and that is, there was a question that you thought, certainly Jerry's going to ask me this question. I get asked this all the time, but I did not, and you're wondering why. So, can you give us the answer to the question you thought I was going to ask you?
The question I thought you were going to ask.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody does, but somehow I did not.
You probably didn't ask it because you live up the road from me. I just found out. So, but yeah, usually people ask about Youngstown. You know what I mean? Like they'll ask about Youngstown and stuff because they're not from Youngstown. So I mean, you're from here, so you know what I mean. So yeah, we'll get asked about Youngstown a lot, or the Youngstown music scene, or sort of sort of the blue collar attitude of Youngstown and stuff. We get that one a lot, but yeah, that's the one that maybe I might have expected, but yeah, but now you're, like I said, you're from here too, so
Well, what do you
you
tell them? What's your answer to them when they ask you about Youngstown? What do you say? How do you represent us, man?
I just, yeah, man, just kind of what I said. It's a lot of blue collar, hardworking people, man, and everybody here works for a living, and everybody is kind of doing the grind. But there is a lot of exciting stuff happening though in Youngstown though too, in terms of entertainment and stuff as well too, like concert venues. There's a lot more of that going on now than there was even just a handful of years ago. It's exciting to see, and it's exciting to see. It's great to see. I love it. The West Side Bowl is one of our favorite places to play. I love that, like Nate, who owns it over there, he'll have shows over there, and I don't even know who the band is or necessarily what the genre. I listen to it. It's like I'm not even sure what to classify this is, but it's sold out. Like, all right, but and it's all kids, it's younger people. It's like awesome. Like you got sold out for live music in Youngstown, Ohio, which is means that the scene kind of, as it's gonna keep going on, is gonna stay healthy, and but yeah, it's great to see the amount of opportunities, or the increased amount of opportunities for bands and stuff around here, even just in the last 5 years. It's been great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I appreciate knowing that you're, just right on the same street. So I'll come and ring your doorbell one day.
Good, man. Dude, I'm walking. I've been tearing up the block here the last week or so. I just had a hernia surgery, right? And like about a week or so ago, but part of it's like a different one. It's not the mesh, not to get in whatever, but like part of the rehab is like literally the day of, you got to walk like 4 or 5 miles a day. So I've been burning it up around here lately, man. Just doing the loop all through the
All
neighborhood.
three, yeah. I walk in the morning, early, early, early in the morning, and so I never run into you because usually like 9:30, I'm just popping, boom, boom, boom. But it's so good to know that you're such a wonderful musician, such a wonderful person, and just right up the street. That secures the neighborhood, man. So thank you very much.
Well, no, thank you, man. Yeah, it's a nice neighborhood. It's nicer now knowing that you're in it too.
It is. It is a great place to live. Youngstown, Ohio, gets a bad rap, but it's a good town. It's a good town, good piece. There was another question though that I was going to ask, and that was with respect to artist impact. We tried to put this on last year, and well, we tried to. We did do it, and we did get it within a couple of days of that show, which happened May 30th. But with respect to the videos, I have to ask because very, very good stuff in all of the videos that I've seen. That's something that's a part of your arsenal. What do you think? Who is the concept person? Who's shooting it? How are you coming up with the ideas? We just couldn't end on the fact that we're just good neighbors like Mr.
Yeah.
Rogers. We,
Yeah, that's it. No, the videos, man. Yeah, I think our goal with the videos was just to make them as ridiculous as possible. Like we wanted them to be funny. We didn't want it to seem like the one video is just us kind of rocking out, right? It's sort of the basic, us rocking kind of live. But the other ones, it was like, okay, let's, we're in a car with a green screen, and we're getting attacked by all kinds of stuff. And the other one, we're playing video games, which that was a kind of during the pandemic, all right, let's figure out how to do some of this stuff, and get it. So it was like, all right, let's test this out, and we might as well use this time, all this extra time in our houses. So yeah, man. Usually the video, it's just we're trying to be fairly ridiculous, while just kind of present it out there that it sort of echoes us live. If you come see us live, it's just a fun time, man. We're having a good time on stage. We're usually busting each other's balls on stage as we're playing and stuff. Like it's real kind of loose, and we're putting on a rock show, but at the same time we're kind of self-deprecating at the same time. I don't see a whole lot of bands that do that so much. We're kind of, that's sort of the stand-up comedians and us kind of making fun of ourselves up there too. But we certainly take it seriously though too, as well, as far as delivering good rock shows, man. But yeah, it's just all about having fun.
Well, you're doing it, man. You're doing it. I love what you're doing. I love your sound. I love the videos. I was just interested in the concepts and whatnot. I mean, you have it going on, man. What a package. And so I'm really, really appreciative of the fact of knowing that you're a neighbor now. So, this can't be the only time on the show. You're going to have to co-host or or maybe guest host or something.
Yeah. We got to get together, man. I got to walk over. We got to have a couple beers here, man.
That's right. Well, I'll have coffee. You can have the beer. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All good. But this is B.J. Lisko. Great guitarist, great band. If you've never heard of Turbo Lobers, the band, before, now is your time to get in, because they absolutely rock. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you all being on and listening to the podcast or watching the podcast from wherever you are. Tell everybody you know, and then tell 9 people you don't, that you get down with the Entre Musician, and you also get down now with Turbo Lovers. My name is Jerry B. Come check us out, theentremusician.com. I'm an Entre musician. You just heard from B.J. Lisko. He's an Entre musician, but most importantly, so are you. We will absolutely see you next time. God bless.